Have you ever seen a piece of modern art that made you think anyone could make that? That's what I thought when I saw that in 2019, someone taped a banana to a wall and then someone else bought it for $6.2 million.
How? I can make that. Wait, I could make that.
Is there really something artistically genius about this banana that makes it worth that much money? Or is this something else?
Galleries manipulate prices to an extent that would be illegal in most industries.
It can be kind of like money laundering.
In making my own art and trying to sell it, I found a simple formula for why some art sells for millions and others doesn't. And it can help us understand how the art market grew to $2.2 trillion.
That has no regulation.
Wait, what do you mean by no regulation?
There's no regulation. Who's regulating it?
You might think you know the gist, like the art piece was an investment or money laundering. No, because the guy who bought it for $6.2 million then proceeded to eat it. However weird you think the art world is, it's even weirder than that. So I'm gonna crack the formula to sell my art piece for millions of dollars too. What do you think?
Do you want me to be honest?
Yeah.
It's neat.
This is one of Soho's premier contemporary art galleries. Galleries like this are where most artists get their start. Over half of emerging artists sell their first pieces in galleries like this. Established artists like Jeff Koons, Damien Hirst, or Maurizio Catalan always go through galleries to sell their art, with rare exceptions. At this gallery, some pieces are worth up to $75,000. So I talked to their gallery director, who handpicks the next generation of artists to see if I can be among them.
It's neat. Like, do you think it could have a place in this gallery?
No. For sure not.
Clearly, this professional gallerist who has started numerous successful careers can't see the greatness in my painting, so I put him to the test.
I'm gonna show you two pieces of art. I want you to tell me which one sold for more. This is a banana taped on a wall. This is a painting. Which one sold for more?
I'm sure it's going to be the Catalan.
Yeah.
I remember what it sold for when it was at the art fair.
6.2 million. Wait, guess the price of this art.
50,000.
It's $8,000. This is a black square.
Yep.
And this is an art piece. Which one is worth
20
more?
million.
Yeah. Okay, last one. This is a red circle on a canvas, and this is
I think the Caravaggio would have gone for more.
So you say this one is worth more?
Subjectively, yes, but probably that one.
Probably this one? Okay, I just made this Google slide before this.
You tricked me then. Fair. I honestly think that this sort of like massive growth that like I think you've seen since the early 2000s to present day, I think represents like a huge bubble that sort of popped up, and artists who really like hit the stratosphere in the sense of like contemporary artists selling works for multiple $1 million. People who rose to the stratosphere like that, you know, I just don't think that that's sustainable.
Why can't I tape a banana on the wall and sell it for 6 million? Or just, I'm not even gonna be greedy. 1 million is good with me.
If you're gonna reference Maurizio's work, he's always been kind of like a troublemaker in the art world. That's postmodern theory.
Yeah.
Right, so that's like, you know, anything can be art. There's like a certificate that comes along with it that like identifies that you as a gallery can hang it up on the wall and it can be installed.
In this gallery, you have some incredible paintings and price points next to them. And of course, art is subjective. So how do you determine that one thing is worth 8,000 and another thing is worth 80,000?
Certain galleries have they're in like tranches of like price points. You've got like, you know, sort of the emerging galleries, which is like under $100,000. And then you have like the blue chip galleries that go into the hundreds of thousands into the millions, right? And they can just kind of pick someone out of obscurity and drop them into one of those and just go like, the works were 20,000, they're now 120,000.
And the gallery is basically the arbiter of what goes from 6 figures to 7-figure price points.
Well, that and the auction, you know, so because the
auctions,
auctions will then back up that sort of, that really aggressive price push, you know.
Got it. I saw this quote from an economist in Quartz. That's always really interesting. I want to get your reaction to this. She wrote, galleries, quote, manipulate prices to an extent that would be illegal in most industries. So what is your reaction to that?
I don't disagree with her.
You don't disagree with her?
You're looking at the art market as like a $65 billion total marketplace that has no regulation.
Wait, what do you mean by no regulation?
There's no regulation. Who's regulating it?
Like anybody can open a gallery?
Sure. Once the auction houses started putting primary market artists on the block, it became like, well, if I buy one now and in 10 years it's going to end up on the auction block selling for, 20x. It can be kind of like money laundering in a way. You can literally walk into a bank and go, I've got, a room full of Warhols that are worth $70 million. Can I have, $5 million tax free?
Right.
You know what I mean, to spend. You know what I mean? And it's no big deal.
Right.
So that's what I mean by there's no regulation in this. Like, I wouldn't say they're fixing prices, but
they're not fixing prices. Got it. I'm walking back to the office now for our second interview, and I got 2 words. Holy in that order. So in the art market, there's 2 major players. There's the galleries, that's what we call the primary market. It's how new art from artists is sold to buyers. And then there's the auction houses. We call that the secondary market. It's how buyers sell their art to other buyers, kind of like the stock market. The United States does have a major piece of legislation that's supposed to regulate shady financial practice like money laundering, and it's called the Bank Secrecy Act. But interestingly enough, it doesn't extend to the art market. And this kind of laid the seeds for what allows galleries to manipulate prices as much as they do and hold prices up in the art market as much as they can. It's what's allowed the art market to balloon to $2.2 trillion. That's about the GDP of Canada. And I guess that's an impressive stat depending on what you think about Canada. And this is true around the world. The IMF describes the art market as loosely regulated. Those are my 2 favorite words in the dictionary. I look like a guy who would have favorite words in the dictionary, I know. We emailed the congressman who introduced the bill to try to regulate the art market. And he said that his bill got pushback from auction houses who viewed the new reporting requirements as burdensome. And by the way, these are the same reporting requirements that banks already have to go through. And because of this loose regulation, we see some weird things happening here, like this building. Inside of it is $100 billion worth of art, which is a weird way to enjoy your art. Like, I prefer to put my art above my couch, and my family prefers to put my art in the shredder. This building is called the Freeport. It's basically a giant tax-free warehouse in Switzerland where the world's wealthiest people can store their art. But why keep art that you have no way to enjoy or admire? Great question. Consider the fact that the world's largest auction house, Sotheby's, has 5 options on their website, and one of them is finance, where they advertise the fact that they can offer you up to $250 million in loans based on the value of your art, based on the value of something that is largely subjective. What I just talked to Michael about was fascinating, but it also lined up almost perfectly with the conversations that I've had with experts on background. And with this article that I found, this article is basically arguing that galleries are playing an enormous role in keeping prices up in the art market. And they do this because if an established artist is selling new art and it can't sell, or sells for a much lower price, it could really hurt the value of all their other art pieces that have already been sold. It could destabilize the art market as a whole. So galleries play an important role in providing stability to the artist, but also to the art market. It was this article where I got that quote that I just asked Michael about. She wrote, galleries, quote, manipulate prices to an extent that would be illegal in most industries. The author of this article is an economist named Dr. Alison Schrager, and she studied the art market for years. I'm actually about to go interview her right now. And she argues that galleries are the most powerful price setters in the art market in a way that no other industry has ever seen. And I want her help in understanding how they're able to get away with it.
Living artists still making art is almost all sold through galleries. And the gallerists control the prices. Like, they set a price, there's no transparency with the price. And if you own this art and you want to sell it, you can't just send it to an auction where people can see the price. I mean, you can, but you might get blacklisted from the gallery. Because what they want is complete control over pricing. They want to set a price, they want that to be the market price.
So let me just clarify. If you try to not go through a gallery, the galleries will blacklist you. Your career is done. You have to go through
as a collector.
As a collector.
Yes, it's not really a career, it's a hobby.
Got it. Oh, if you're a buyer, you have to go to the gallery. So they have that control not just on artists, but on the buying market.
Oh yeah, I mean, with the artists, forget it. Yeah, you have to be with your gallery. As long as you're with your gallery, you have to sell through them.
Or you just can never sell or buy through them again.
Well, I mean, I imagine they'd be upset if you did. But even if you buy art, you're a collector from a gallery, and now this art is worth way more, you can't just go to Sotheby's. Well, I mean, you can. People do.
Right.
But I mean, you risk being blacklisted.
Wow.
Because they want to control the price, and they want to control who buys the art. I mean, why this is worth nothing, I didn't say that, you did. And let's be honest, I've seen uglier art. No, I'm not saying this is ugly. But
Yeah,
I've seen
I mean, you did say you said uglier, but
yeah,
that's fine.
I didn't mean it that way.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
I've seen ugly art that goes for a lot more.
Yeah.
So it's not aesthetics. It's not the intrinsic value.
So what do I do?
Becoming a great artist is a lot about marketing. Look at Jeff Koons or Damien Hirst.
Yeah.
Like, they are clearly would have been superstars in whatever they did.
Right.
And they are just really good at marketing. So I imagine, although no one's ever admitted this to me, that dealers are also looking at someone who can sell, because part of being a collector is the social aspect. It's a rich person's hobby. So, you know, dealers also organize dinners with the artists.
Oh, interesting.
So they want someone who can sell themselves too.
Wow, okay. So these galleries have enormous control. I mean, blacklisting artists or buyers if they try to go around you means that you can set the price for them forever. So these major blue chip galleries, Gagosian, Perrodin, David Zwirner, these galleries are just able to turn artists into millionaires overnight. The thing is, I need to become one of those artists. And to do that, I need to get my name out there. I need to market myself. I need to have my brand or personality, which oftentimes can drive value to my artwork just because of who I am and what I've done. The problem is, I am not allowed to be trusted with marketing anymore. Mr. Nixon, I couldn't possibly come up with a better campaign pin. And to answer your other question, I don't see anything wrong with a little bit of wiretapping. Yeah, I think I'm gonna ask a professional and see what they think I should do.
So I talked to Rachel Green, who professionally advises wealthy art collectors and knows exactly the taste that they're looking for.
This is my painting. I made this.
I see it.
You seem amazed and speechless.
Yeah.
So you like it? I can go to the first question. Who would you say is the most successful living artist today?
I think that would be Jeff Koons. He's the only living artist who I think makes the top 50 in terms of auction records.
How did he establish his personality? How did he brand himself in the art world when he first started? What was his kind of playbook?
He made a series of artworks about his love life that were extremely confrontational. It really was a new way of making art as a contemporary artist.
Okay, so I could try to do something like that. Like what specifically made it so confrontational?
I think that many would describe the images as pornographic, highly sexually graphic, really distilling moments of in coitus that are very confrontational to look at.
How do I find this art? Like what do I Google right now?
It's called Made in Heaven.
Oh wow, this is like an ice sculpture. You could have this at a wedding, kind of. Is being a provocateur becoming increasingly popular amongst living artists today?
I think that one could say Maurizio Catalan, who famously taped a banana to the wall. I think his work is pretty provocative. He's made very famous artworks about the Pope and Hitler. I think many people find Banksy to have a provocative style. He famously had one of his works at auction sort of self-destruct. I think Damien Hirst is provocative in certain ways as well. I think it is part of the fabric of the art world. There's an artist named Andrea Fraser who had sex with one of her collectors and filmed it as a sort of statement about these issues.
The issue being?
She might say that that work was about the relationship between the artist and the collector and selling work.
One of the reasons why the person who bought the banana taped to wall for $6 million was because he wanted to introduce himself to the art world. What does that mean?
Even if you have unlimited funds, you can't just walk into a gallery and buy a really sought after artwork. There is a pecking order, a hierarchy of collectors. And I think his willingness to overpay for the Catalan and then eat the banana at a press conference was a way of kind of introducing himself and making a splash as a brash, daring collector.
Obviously, marketing yourself, establishing your brand and personality is of the utmost importance in the art world. But there are lengths even I can't go to, apparently, according to Morning Brew policy. Please, this is what it takes to sell for $100 million. This is what people are doing.
No, absolutely
This is
not.
how you get to $100 million.
No.
I thought you wanted this
Are you
video.
kidding me? No.
There had to be another angle for me, and it got me thinking back to something Michael Ruppel, the gallery director, had said.
Huge bubble. It can be kind of like money laundering in a way.
We've talked a lot about who's making the art, who's selling it, who the major players are, but we haven't talked that much about who's buying it and why. And after hours and hours of hard work, we actually found something really interesting that I think you should take a look at. See, China has emerged as an enormous buyer of art. I had one of our research analysts put the slide deck together so we can get a better picture. Some estimates put them as high as 36% of the total auctioned art market in 2020, but nonetheless, it's hard to get an exact picture because you can kind of buy art from anywhere through multiple different venues, and sometimes you can do it anonymously, like when the Saudi Crown Prince bought the Da Vinci for $450 million a few years ago. For a country that is 20% of global GDP, it does seem they're kind of punching above their weight in the global art market. We can start to understand why when we consider that China's produced millions of millionaires and hundreds of billionaires in the last 25 years. And 97% of China's ultra wealthy are self-made. That's a much higher number than their European and North American counterparts. Add to that the fact that a third of all art in the global art market is inherited, meaning that if your mom and dad love you enough, they'll give you some of their artwork. And in a country where so many people are self-made, you're far less likely to inherit artwork, which means that China has a lot of catching up to do. But a weird thing about all the art pieces that China's now buying is that about 30 to 50% of them, according to one estimate, are associated with money laundering. One major reason for this is that China severely restricts the amount of money that Chinese citizens can move out of the country. And art is kind of a way to get around this, because art is subjective in value. If someone pays an extra $10 million for my art piece, who's to say they're in the wrong for doing so? But weirdly enough, art collectors from mainland China are spending a median of $650,000. That is so much. That is 10 times the two second highest art markets. In the art market, we call that a ton. Now, because China's faced some economic downturns in the last few years, Chinese art collectors aren't buying as much art. In the last year, it's gone down by about 30%, and it's kind of taken the entire art market down with it, which is now down 12% in the last year, just kind of showing us how much of the global art market was buoyed up by China. So China's investment in the art market kind of peaked around 2019, 2020. And for other economic reasons, the art market as a whole peaked. There was lower interest rates. The stock market was rising very quickly. During that same time in 2019, Jeff Koons sold one of his art pieces for $91 million, the most an art piece by a living artist has ever sold for. So for a lot of these pieces that were sold in 2019, 2020, timing was a huge part of it. And interestingly enough, the banana that sold for $6.2 million was made by an artist who was represented by one of the most powerful and top-selling galleries in the world, called Provocation. The artist himself, Maurizio Cattelan, has established himself as a provocateur in the art world. Right now, he has a toilet plated in gold going to auction at Sotheby's. And the buyer of this banana taped to the wall was Justin Sun, a billionaire from China who bought it in 2019. Interesting. The value of art isn't just billionaires hiding money. Most buyers follow strict anti-money laundering rules, disclosing everything required. No art dealer has ever been convicted of money laundering, according to a former Homeland Security official. Galleries of minimalist, seemingly simple to make art are crowded. The art is admired. These pieces sell for millions, but they're also bought by genuine fans who hold them for years, if not decades. It seems in a world where we can have everything, see anything, what we want from our art is more nothing. At the MoMA, there's a canvas that's just blue. It was revolutionary because it was the first to get that. As for my piece, I reached out to every major gallery and no response. I tried donating it to a coffee shop and they said, please don't do this to us. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but no one ever told me there would be no beholders.